And now, esteemed voyagers and also dearest explorers, our cosmic journey continues as we set our sight on the next planet in our celestial odyssey. This celestial body is inhabited by an architect of innovation, Mr. Augutine Tay, Corporate Senior Vice President and General Manager of SEA and South Asia of eBaoTech. Here, amidst in the swirling nebula of technological advancement, we shall explore the realm of core system modernization, driving speed, agility, and improving operational excellence. So, ladies and gentlemen, Augutine Tay joined eBaoTech in 2004. Mr. Tay is the General Manager of Southeast Asia and South Asia region and is the P&L holder of the region with overall oversight and responsibility for all customer success, acquisitions, and engagements in the region. During his 20 years in eBaoTech, Mr. Tay started the eBaoTech business in Southeast Asia region from the ground up. Prior to the eBaoTech, Mr. Tay was leading the insurance and wealth management practice for a locally listed company in Singapore. Mr. Tay holds a Master of Business Administration degree from the University of Chicago and also a Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Science from National University of Singapore. As we traverse the vast expanse of digital landscape, Mr. Augutine Tay will illuminate the path forward, guiding us through the infinite terrains of modernization and agility. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us ready our minds for accelerating expedition into the heart of digital transformation, where the keys to speed, agility, and operational excellence await for our discovery. Onward, fellow travelers, to the next frontier of knowledge and possibility. And now, Mr. Augutine Tay, the floor is yours.
Very good morning. Selamat pagi. It's a privilege and an honor to be here today in beautiful Bandung. It's my first time. So again, thank you so much for the invitation. I just want to acknowledge our distinguished guests, Prisa Suti, Ibu. Thank you for, again, your session. It's wonderful to know the ecosystem that is being built up in Indonesia. It's a wonderful setup, I would say, in many countries. Everyone is developing that, but Indonesia is powering ahead in terms of that connectivity and putting the whole plan together. Really appreciate that session. I would also like to acknowledge the board members of OJK who are here today as well. Thank you very much for the time. And again, our distinguished guests and colleagues. Some of you have journeyed with me over the past 20 years, even when we entered the Indonesian market 20 years ago. I thank you again for your presence. Let me just talk about core system modernization. Not too long ago, core system modernization was viewed as a very high risk and a very treacherous, I would say, undertaking, requiring very diligent board approvals, etc. But with the advent of technology and what we see in the digital realm, that has definitely changed the landscape. So what happened was 5 years ago, eBao actually went to think through how could we reimagine core modernization. For the longest time, core modernization was the backbone of all your insurance services, IT capability within the insurer. But we wanted to reimagine that how could the backbone be restricted to a monolithic core that we all know very well in our existing organizations? How could we break away from that? And technology has advanced so greatly with the benefits that actually we now can actually overcome that. So 5 years ago, we actually reimagined, and I'm glad to say this is the starting point of that result. Yeah, we currently deploy using the MAC principles a PaaS globally, which currently processes about 25 billion in GWP. Its primary goal is to connect and to be the glue and core platform for insurance. It's essentially now connected to about 6,000 channels, 5,000 product SKUs, with about 3,000 APIs, all centrally managed, all fully connected, uptime 24/7. So this is just the beginning, but we wanted to experiment with that paradigm. Yeah, it was a very important paradigm because when people think of cloud, they think of also certain level of benefit, but also risk. And we wanted to work through a lot of that risk. Yeah? So what is a PaaS for insurance? A lot of people ask me, I don't know what a PaaS for insurance looks like. What is it? Yeah? If you look at the market needs and the alignment, it's already asking for many of these things that we started to put together in an insurance PaaS that supports the value chain. So really a platform that creates, that integrates, and connects disparate systems. The short answer to what is a PaaS for insurance, it's the glue. Yeah. But if you wanted to go deeper, then really it's a platform where you can actually plug in to replace your backbone. Right? Traditionally, the backbone was the monolithic core. Today, the world is changing to a decomposed core. And that decomposed core becomes your backbone that is exposed, not only internally, but to an external world, and fully connected. Yeah? And that's what the insurance PaaS platform is providing, using the building blocks, the middle office, and the connectedness of insurance. Yeah? When we talk about core modernization, we typically use the word distributed and decomposed. Yeah? That follows the MAC principles, and it's crucial because the minute you can decompose your services, you create agility. So being able to build and integrate faster and transforming your monolithic core to a multi-tiered architecture is crucial. In terms of readiness and speed to market, having ready reference insurance products, ready reference applications that you can self-modify, change, and even create new applications yourself on this platform is crucial in this day and age where we are seeing such a velocity and trajectory of speed. From a scale perspective, a lot of third-party players these days provide very innovative, especially in the insurtech space, applications. How do you easily plug that in? And that's where really a PaaS platform comes into play. Not so long ago, we actually had a hope, and that hope was, could we singly configure our products such that it's consumed by every system within our landscape, whether it be our point of sales for our agents, whether it be actually for our internal staff, whether it be our mobile applications. That was difficult. It was almost like the price that every organization internally wanted to have, a single source of truth. But today, with technology advancement, that is already achievable. So essentially, you now have a single configuration workplace on the PaaS that allows you to essentially power up your call and all essential services. And it also allows you to power up all your ecosystem partners' applications by feeding them the necessary products. Yeah? So that's a game changer. So what is the guiding principles of digital insurance when we talk about the capabilities? We typically use the 3 V's. Yeah? Velocity, variation, and volume. Yeah? In today's digital world, variation is key. We no longer are allowed actually to slowly vary our products. Reacting to the business needs are crucial, so we have to vary them a lot. We have customers in some markets that are varying them on a weekly basis, for example. So that's coming hard and fast to every market. Variation. When we talk about variation, we are talking about all the possible SKUs, all the possible product variations that you could possibly think of, because again, it's all about that contextualized distribution, what we call embedded. You really want to embed your products everywhere where the purchase path presents itself. Volume-wise, we are seeing huge scale and requirements, especially at a regional and global level and a country level in terms of demands. We actually have clients who are coming to us and says, how do we process such millions of policies? And that is now, in a way, a requirement, that high volume throughput. In the past, our monolithic cores would suffer, and we would try to figure out how to increase that capacity. But with today's platforms, that's gone away. You can quickly scale and quickly implement such volume capacity requirements. I wanted to paint a picture about what the region is doing in terms of core modernization, which is at scale. So very quickly, you can see before you, for example, in Vietnam, Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, I tried to get a sample flavor of what kind of core modernization is going out there. In the past, core modernization was equal to core replacement, which was very risky, takes a lot of time. But that's no longer the case. Today, if you just wanted to, for example, in Takaful Brunei, one of the largest Takaful players in Brunei, they just wanted to launch all their new Takaful products on the platform, then they can do so. They don't have to figure out how to replace their aging core. They quickly deploy the PaaS and deploy their Takaful products, and they're off and running. Likewise, there are many companies who have been doing a lot of M&A, integration work. And very quickly, that we all know the integration part tends to take a long time. So what are the accelerators? The PaaS can provide the accelerators to enable that integration quickly. Likewise, in the Philippines or in Vietnam, MB Ajas and EWA Ajas, part of the Ajas group, they wanted to essentially replace their aging SAP insurance system. So that's also something very quickly. In the past, that would take 20 months, 30 months type of project. Now, we pretty much went in and replaced it within, say, a 9-month time frame. Because you have now these accelerators. So technology has really allowed us to make it accessible. It's become very consumable now. And I think that is the exciting part. So I hope we walk away thinking that core insurance is no longer, or core modernization is no longer a difficult subject. It's actually something that can really be materialized in a quick manner. There are obviously key areas that one has to pay attention to, and I'll try to cover that. Next gen platform highlights, really open standard. When you look at this replacing your backbone, you really need to look at whether or not this backbone is open, because we live in a world that is so pervasive. Everything is so embedded now. Everything is so contextual and personalized. It really needs to be open, and you cannot have this what we call vendor lock-in, right? you are dependent on just a few players. Today, it's the crowd economy. You really are able to tap on the talents from every single vendor that is in your roster. And they all can participate in this backbone. In the past, the backbone is locked away. And that is of no big benefit to the organization, especially the business outcomes, unless you break down those barriers. In terms of source code access, many of our clients, especially in the developing markets, are building applications at speed and scale. They are actually developing so many applications, but it needs to be consistent. It needs to be connected to a single backbone. Everything needs to flow correctly. How do we accelerate that? That's through the past. So really look out for source code access. Are you able, as a consumer or as your third-party vendors who are supporting you, able to access that source code to develop more meaningful applications on your own? From a global platform perspective, we harvest a lot of the best practices across globally, and that becomes available for everyone to kind of consume. I think that's something you want to look out for as well. And of course, certifications. We went through a very rigorous OSPA certification for the banking side of the house. Even though we are an insurance platform, we really wanted to discover all those criteria that is the banking gold standard as well. The other key thing to take note is the open framework. Always look for a backbone that is open, and you can build, operate, and transfer. Right? You don't want to be locked in to a particular vendor. You want the flexibility, and you also want the agility. Many times now, more and more people are actually looking at developing their applications in-house, because why spend the time to figure out how to outsource that? It's really about ownership. So the new technology and platforms now give the ability to insurers, to the value chain, much more ownership capabilities, even from the IT perspective. Yeah. I wanted to also highlight one progressive digital insurer. This particular insurer is called Aegon Life in India. They took an ambitious pathway of a 12-month cycle journey with us to actually build out their headless capability within the IT landscape. So actually, Aegon Life had a very unique, I would say, skill set. They built all their applications themselves from the ground up, all along. Yeah? And they had a very high tuning to essentially the e-commerce players, very high tuning to very much the fast velocity. So they marketed their products very digitally and very savvy in that area. And as a result, they built up this capability over time. But then came the problem of revamping their backbone. And how would they do that? And we agreed on a headless approach, where essentially the platform was completely headless. This may not be so applicable for some companies who don't have that level of IT capabilities, but it worked out for them wonderfully. Yeah? So you can see some of the players they've been working with. MobiKwik. MobiKwik wanted the system to be connected to them. They are quite a famous wallet provider in India. Within 6 weeks upon signing of their agreement together. That in a traditional format would be impossible. But because of the platform, because of the agility of PaaS, that brought it to fruition. Likewise, Paytm as well, a very large payment provider in India, was also demanding a 5-week kind of level timeline. So they thought 6 weeks was already ambitious. Then they met Paytm, and Paytm said, "Can you do it in a week?" And then they said, "No, but we can do it in 4 weeks." And they finally agreed to 5 weeks based on the cooperation that they had. Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to just give you a flavor of what are the best practices and highlights, really permeating throughout the region. And I think it's exciting. I think one thing that technology and digital brings to the table is really that hope of really a much faster engagement with your customers and a much faster agility for your own organizational capabilities. So I think it's exciting. And in the past, we were afraid to embrace it. But I think now we've reached a point slowly where it's become more consumable. It's much easier to process that. And I thought at this juncture, that we will go into a fireside chat. I wanted to bring a very dear partner of ours and client, Chubb Life. We have Noel, who has flown all the way here, or driven all the way here from Jakarta to speak with us. He's the global head of operations and technology for Chubb Life, and they have been adopting the PaaS approach over the past 2 years, and we wanted to also share that with the industry so that we can learn more things together. So at this juncture, may I invite Noel and Andrew as the moderator.
Hai, selamat siang. Saya nama Andrew. Saya dari Singapura, tapi sudah tinggal di Jakarta 5 bulan ya. Karena itu Indonesia ada banyak perusahaan asuransi perlu digital transformation untuk digital distribution of products, micro insurance, faster transaction, and so forth. So we'll use this fireside chat. So we're honored to have Mr. Noah with us, where Chubb has deployed across 11 negara. And we would like him to share his experience on his thoughts about modernization of call and why he specifically adopt a platform approach for his call modernization. So one of the key questions I have for Noel is, what are the pain points within Chubb, and what triggers you actually to look into these call modernization efforts? Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. And thank you, everyone, for giving me the opportunity to present here today. Being a traditional insurer, we have a lot of experience when it comes to call and legacy. So we are going through those challenges. And as many of you may know, in the last year and a half, we went through a fairly significant integration as well, where Cigna and Chubb came together, both in Singapore and 5 other markets. So we were accumulating a lot of core systems and a lot of history. So when it comes down to core modernization, and then looking at pain points, I go back to the approach initially when you're talking about decomposing services. I like to use the term modular. We try to modularize and break that core system apart. That's the way to approach it. The pain points are many. Number one, you go and ask any technology person for a new service or a new product. First things they say to you is, I don't have resources. Why? Because they're all absorbed in maintaining your core. That's your number one pain point. What are they doing? They're upgrading your basic core. They're sitting there upgrading security so that your data protection is in order. And the length of time it takes is extremely long to do that. If you want new services, the second pain point is around new services and products. Again, it's not in weeks, it's in months, and unfortunately sometimes it actually goes into years. It's regular in our industry. But the final pain point, and the biggest pain point, is talent. Our core systems, that talent that can maintain them is slowly diminishing. Even within Chubb, in the next month, I've got one developer about to retire in one of our markets who's 77 years old. So yes, you get a job for life. But the young people of today, they have no interest in maintaining these core systems. Their preference is to work on the new technologies and how they move forward.
What triggers you to explore eBaoTech's Insurmo, and specifically which country did you choose to deploy first, and why?
Key trigger. For us, ultimately came down to ability to execute. Right? Why in Shomo? We used to do product launches over, like, within each of our markets, probably takes us a year to do maybe 3 to 4 products at best. It's a long development cycle. Within Shomo, our products cadence has now enhanced to 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks for an insurance product, a life insurance product. That is a very, very, very reasonable and extremely efficient way of doing business. That's number one. Number two comes down to the market keeps changing. So we want to be able to expose the rating and the pricing and make it easier for our actuaries to portfolio manage and update our prices. That is very key. Again, you think about in your core systems when you do a rate change, how long does it take you? It takes a very significant amount of time by the time you make your changes and you reconcile. We can do that now, again, in weeks. We can go and tweak prices, verify, make sure they align, and relaunch. Actually, you can do it in days, but the key thing is around the reconciliation process. So that pricing and rating is critical for us, the fact that we can externalize it. The final piece, Augustine, you sort of touched on around the whole business ecosystem. What's really, really key is the ability to integrate. Because when you have a system like a PaaS system like in Shomo, the opportunity then is how do we connect to the rest of the world? How do we connect to the rest of our business partners? Externally, it's whether it's our agency, our broker capabilities, our banks, we connect with them through these APIs. Or it's to services that we want to consume. For example, for unit-linked products, we want fund pricing. So we're connecting to a Morningstar, or if we want to switch, we can easily switch to a Thomson Reuters, or maybe even a Bloomberg. So it gives us that capability. Internally, then we need to look at how do we optimize our business ecosystem. And what Insurmo is providing us is the ability to easily connect our quotation illustration platforms, our e-application platforms, claims, reinsurance, billings and payments. We've got a lot of internal capabilities, finance platforms that need to also connect into this ecosystem. So these APIs makes it very simple to connect.
So just curious, how often are you coming up with new products right now compared to previously?
Sorry?
How often are you coming up with new products compared to previously?
So we've gone down to 4 weeks is achievable now. We are launching a product a month in our Hong Kong market. And you asked the question around which country first. And let me just sort of touch on that. Because that's been our first approach into modernization, going down this path of decomposing services and so on. First of all, do not make any changes unless there's a business need. Do not let a technologist tell you need to make these changes. If there is no business benefit, don't spend money. It's that simple, right? It is very, very critical that you have the business driver. We went with Hong Kong. Why Hong Kong? Post-COVID, mainland China opened up, and a lot of mainland Chinese visitors were coming into Hong Kong seeking diversification. They wanted new insurance products, and they wanted the ability to invest in global markets. So we decided to go down the path of Hong Kong as our driver. And because the market was growing so quickly, we really had to accelerate product releases, upgrading our products, because they were still fairly dated, adding new riders. I just tried to distinguish a different service, and more importantly, offering capability that they weren't used to. And with Insurmo, we were able to execute going down that path.
So during deployment, right? What are some of the risks that you face? How did you mitigate those risks? And what are some of your migration strategy actually?
was it was interesting because Augustine and I go back quite a while.
Definitely. 20 years, I think, thereabouts.
With the first implementation of eBao into Charm. So we discussed what's the best way, and it's all about taking learnings and really the various mistakes we make along the way. So we decided to go with a greenfield implementation to minimize risk. You want to just explain greenfield in your terminology?
So typically in core modernization, most people will focus on replacing the core, and they tie that entire timeline to the migration, the actual data migration, which is the longest path. So for example, if it takes you 24 months to migrate your data, that becomes the critical pathway, and therefore your entire program lasts for 24 months. So we try to break off that cycle by saying, let's go with new product launches on a greenfield while the data migration is going on in the background.
Perfect. What the terminology I like to use there is technical debt and data debt. And that's because it's sitting in old systems, and trying to move those across in the middle of launching a new platform, that's when the risk goes significantly higher. So the benefit of going greenfield, on the one hand, we're still running our business. Every one of you still has your business plans. You have your numbers you need to deliver this year. So you need to focus on those. And you cannot have a new implementation divert you from that attention. What the greenfield allowed us is we can build this on the side as well. So we had two operations running. So number one, you're not trying to carry the old and put it into the new. Secondly, it comes down to people. With people, you've got your resources already allocated to your existing programs of work. When we went greenfield, we effectively hired a brand new team between our partners in eBaoTech. They provide us the expertise. We hired some ourselves from the market because it's a different skill set. And then thirdly, the pressure ultimately comes down onto our business because they've had to give us the SME knowledge to help us drive forward. And then what that also then provides you, the last benefit is, you look at your portfolio migrations. So as Augustine rightly mentioned, we now have portfolios in two systems, in our new system and in our old. What you can quickly do in that scenario, of which what we've done, is we start migrating our good products, the ones that are selling well, our new business, onto the new platform. So we can continue providing that service and those products to the market. With our existing books, it gives us time. And we've got two options. Option one, very high cost option, mind you, is to do a portfolio migration. If you can afford it, great. That's the cleanest and easiest way to manage that scenario. The second option is, it's lower cost, but requires more management, is to have an in-force management strategy. You can manage it separately and then look at how do you minimize the cost of maintaining that book and servicing those customers. And then you can use data strategies like master data management to create a single view of your customer. So we're looking at those at the moment in terms of what's the most appropriate one strategy for us to pursue. And from one market to the next, that changes as well. Comes down to what your business environment's like and what works for you.
Okay, before we let you off the stage, I would like you to share with the audience here actually. I mean, what are your thoughts about digital transformation in general for Indonesia? Why cloud? Why PaaS? About talents and so forth.
Thank you for that. What I find interesting around the term digital transformation is most people think about technology. And to be honest, technology is the easiest part of a digital transformation. There's so many other factors that are going to that are in play that's going to make you successful or not. So firstly, I think you need to look at your whole business environment and your ecosystem. And when I look at what we've got here in Indonesia, between the OJK, we've got this, who have sort of focused on making sure that the consumer and the customers are protected, versus, I guess, the Association of Life Insurance now that we are gathered together to to help us collaborate and work together and feed off each other to enhance our industry, then ultimately to all us insurers. So our competition ultimately will help our customers get far better products and far better services. So your business ecosystem is a really positive one to operate in. And I've seen that, and I want to refer back to it when I want to talk about culture and integration a bit later. The second key environment is our customers. What kind of environment do they operate? Every person I see out when I'm in Indonesia has a smartphone. So it means it's a very technology-friendly environment. I've actually even gone to shops where I've tried to pay in cash, and cash was not accepted. Digital payments was the only option. So it's showing that the consumers are ready to adapt to a digital environment. And that is actually very, very powerful. If the consumers don't want it, you can try as much as you want. They will not take it. I've worked in many other markets where the consumer was not as comfortable with digital. So you have already got that one very well built. Then it comes down to talent. Your technical talent is amazing. The amount of young people that are available, that are out there in the field, and it's every single day. You can see in terms of investment encouragement. We saw that earlier around the investment that the health is putting in terms of developing our young people in terms of certifying them. No different with technology. You have the right people, the right skill sets to execute. You do not need to look outside this country to be able to execute. And the last piece, the most important piece that pulls it all together is the culture. The culture of can-do. And I want to go back to the Cigna integration. So my role was to actually lead that integration for Chubb Life. And we were looking at 6 different markets. And we were given, I would say, an almost impossible target of can you do it in about 12 months. Most markets came back and said, this is all impossible. You cannot bring 2 organizations together in 12 months. But we worked through each one. Some saw opportunities, some saw obstacles. And what was one of the major markets? One of the first markets that went live was Indonesia. 11 months. In 11 months, they brought the two companies together, almost minimal outage, and that was completed. That was completed in June last year. So we've been operating now for another almost a year now as a merged entity. That culture, that is something you cannot teach. It's built into it. So you have everything you need to execute. That's up to you now to have the drive to do that.
On an informal note, right? I remember when we have informal coffee with Noel, and we were joking about how do we make the insurance sector sexy in Indonesia, right? I mean, assuming you talk about trying to get the young talents to join the sector, come into the IT industry to support the insurance industry, and you tell them, come join me. I'm in the midst of deploying a core system. I mean, that may sound a little bit boring to these people, but if you tell them, come, we are doing a core modernization and we're deploying a platform as a service. And that may sound a lot more exciting and interesting for them, yeah? So that was the informal chat we had. Yeah?
Can I just mention one last thing around PAS? I just like to touch on this whole platform as a service and the benefits. So we as insurance companies are comfortable with having our own data centers and keeping our data on there and maintaining it ourselves. When we went down the path of InsureMo, we wanted a platform as a service. And the reasons there's 3 key things. Number 1 is around cloud. Cloud's not cheap. Do not think that that's going to save you money. But what does cloud provide you as benefits? For us, it was better uptime. Guaranteed you're going to have better uptime. Secondly, is the ability to execute. Because technical resources, in terms of consuming servers and space, disk storage, memory, whatever you need, is always available. That is very key. And thirdly is around security. In Chubb, we pride ourselves around our security, our data security. We invest a lot of money in that space. Our standards and policies are very, very, benchmark against world's best practice. However, that's one company. With the PAS, we get the power of 3 companies looking at our security. We have Chubb and what we're doing. We have eBaoTech focusing on it. And then we have the hosting partner in terms of Amazon. So then you're bringing the power of 3 companies. And that, you can never say it's going to guarantee. Nobody can guarantee anything. But what that is providing us is a far more optimal environment for us to execute in. And we want to continue focusing on that and leveraging that as much as we can as we move.
Okay, I was told that there's a long list of questions coming through, but I will just go for one question. And we do have a booth outside there, and please feel free to drop by and visit our booth. We'll all be there. So the one question is for Augustine actually, and it's all about the very popular topic in Indonesia right now, which is the implementation of IRF 17 actually. So one of the questions, as you can see, I noticed in the presentation there's no mention about reporting. How do you position this topic? Is Insurmo already addressing this particular requirements in our solution?
Yep. So for IFRS 17, thank you for asking the question. It's really around the data. And the PAS platform has a particular module called Data More. And as its name suggests, it's just very focused on data consumption, right? So we basically, as you know, in any PaaS platform, there's a multitude of data that resides across a myriad of basically modules. And we bring all that data together in Data More in a very consumable way so that basically anyone can kind of pull it out. That includes your IFRS data. So it's basically allowing that consumption. So you can think of that thinking again. Every time you look at any IT capability, look at the data. Is it highly consumable? Is it easily extractable? And can you get exactly what you want from business semantic, etc.? Yeah.
So I guess most of the assurance over here would already have your current partner for IFRS deployment or advisory right now. So the question then is, how do you then pull all the data to one centralized place, right? Which is where we have a module called Data More, right, in eBaoTech, yeah. So with this, I think I will end this particular fireside chat, and I look forward to meeting everyone at our booth over there. Thank you very much to AAJE for the RJE for the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you very
everyone.
much.
Thank you.